this is the form that I am going to need you, that you are going to use to tell you everything you need to know about your final, which is on Monday, the 9th. Okay. And so on the day of the final, you're going to come with your portraits, we're going to do critique, and you're going to come with a stack of work. That work is going to include your portfolio, it's going to include this list, which is an inventory list. It's going to include your excuses, your attendance, the excuses you have for attendance. Should you have any, you bring that, and also the brush that I lent you. You are going to place the contents of your portfolio in a box. We're going to do the critique, and you're going to leave with your painting and leave me with your portfolios, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do is share with you that when class is over, I immediately go into finals mode, which means not only am I having to prepare for other classes and finals and grading, but I'm also heavily involved in senior critiques. And I don't have the luxury of being able to chat with you or be reminded about or being shared something that I need to know about. As a matter of fact, if you have something that I need to know, that's what this is for, okay? So if you have anything that is of utter importance that I need to consider, you need to have it written down here in writing so that when I grade your work, I'm able to focus on whatever it is here, okay? So this form is very important. First thing you're going to do is fill out your name. I have questions on here that I do want you to address. I'm curious to know what you consider your best project to be, what you consider your worst project to be. I ask you a couple more questions. And then on the third line, I would like Mr. Ed to know the following before reviewing my work. This is where that information goes on there. Don't feel that you have to, don't feel that if you say, can you please excuse me for these 4 projects missing, I'm not gonna do it. You know, good luck, but and if you write me a whole page about what happened and your dog died and went to the vet, I'm not gonna do it. So be thoughtful in terms of what it is you need, I need to know. I'm also asking for access to a text number and or an email. And I'll tell you why. I reserve the right to choose whether I need to contact you if there's a problem with your portfolio. If there's a problem with the portfolio, and it could be a number of things, the first thing I'm going to do is assess who the student is, figure out how many absences that student has, and determine whether I think this student is just trying to buy more time. And if that's the case, I'm not going to contact you to ask for things or clarifications. I am going to simply ignore it. However, if you're a good student, have great attendance, have done all the projects, and something is oddly missing or wrong, I might contact you, okay? And I do mean might. A lot of times, what happens is and this has happened before, where I will see there's a situation, will email the student, and the student doesn't respond till 2 weeks later, or doesn't respond till the following semester. And if that's the case, I have no choice but to give you an F grade for the class. So you need to be on call. Make sure that your phone is turned on. Make sure that you're checking your emails, the email that you have given me, from the time that you submit your work to the time that your grade is posted, to make sure that if I have any problems, that you're going to be able to address them within 24 hours. And I say that because every email that I've ever sent is, you have exactly 24 hours to rectify this. And no, I will not let you come to my house to bring me a file. No, you're going to have to figure out how I'm going to electronically have to get this work, okay? But when I go into grading mode, I am in grading mode. I need the work as I asked for it, or it suffers the consequences. Clear? Okay. You are going to provide me with a thumb drive, and in that thumb drive is going to be this very specific list of work in this order. The thumb drive, and I'm going to draw it out for you so that we are very clear with what it needs to look like. First of all, the thumb drive should be placed in a carrier case like I've been passing around. And you see students have created these different sizes, different ways. Please make sure they get passed around, or let me have them up front if you want to see them. But I want you to make a carrier case the size of your paintings, the size of your gray on gray and your black on black, okay? And the reason why is because the last thing I want you to do is hand me a thumb drive and it gets lost. I want to be able to stack everything in one neat stack with your work and know that your thumb drive is secured in here, okay? In terms of the thumb drive, it must be a thumb drive that you could do without. I don't want a thumb drive that has all of your other class homework on it, your family portrait, photos, and that you need this thumb drive. I want a thumb drive that I can and most likely will lose and not be responsible for its contents. Is that clear? If you can't afford a thumb drive, I have a cache of thumb drives in my office. Feel free to come there. I'll be more than happy to give you one. You wipe it clean and you submit your work. In the thumb drive. So we have a thumb drive here, TD, and in the thumb drive are two different things. The first one is going to be a very large PDF file. And in that file is going to be all of your projects listed in this order. The first one's going to be number 1, color, vocab, and hex. Number 2, 15-step value scale. And so you're going to place them on here, and I'm going to see the work. Let me share with you some advice that I want you to follow from now on for everything you do. When you make a presentation or a portfolio, you always assume that your audience, which in this case is me, is an absolute idiot. And you have to spell everything out to him, me. And so page 1 should be number 1, color, vocabulary, and hexadecimal, by, and your name on it. Everything should be properly labeled and it should go by this list, okay? Because what I do is I take this inventory list and I open up your portfolio and I start grading, okay? If things are out of order, you're paying the price and a grade for it. If things are missing, you will pay the price for that in the grade for it, okay? I only go by what I'm being presented. If it were me, I would suggest creating a tabloid 17 by 11 page, 17 inches this way, 11 inches this way. Go to the native AI file and paste it in. And give it the name, your name, and the title, and the number, and then create a new page. I also encourage you to do the same thing when you have a project that you did not do a good grade, and you have a before and you have an after. Look at what a piece of crap I did here. Look at how much better I am here. And again, I would spell out before, after. What is the project? Who's doing it? Is that clear? Okay? You save these pages as PDFs and you put them in the correct order of your presentation. So far, so good? Okay, let's go over every single project on this list so you understand what needs to happen, all right? So the first project is color, vocab, in hexadecimal. That's a project where I gave you 10 names and words and you defined them in 2 color swatches in hexadecimal and you wrote a brief description on them. Remember? Okay, Kim Kardashian? Yes. Okay, then we did the 15-step value scale. Now, I want you to take note, and this is where I swear 70% of you get D's on this and F's, because you don't pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. Notice the red type on the right-hand side. I want you to add to that list. First of all, it's the values, 15-step value scale, that not with the holes in it, but the 15-step value scale that you have the percentages listed. I want you to add 2 more columns. I want you to add the hexadecimal of each swatch, each value, and I want you to add the another column of RGB numbers. What is that gray in RGB? Okay? All you have to do is add to that, you're good to go. Clear? Okay. Then you did coming and going. And some of you did multiple compositions of coming and going. I'll go into that in just a little bit. Show your best one in the portfolio. Okay? Tone identification, that's where I gave you 8 colors and I asked you to find the relative value and match them. Hex numbers, tint, tone, and shade. Do you remember you did a 6x6 design of an RGB and you put a black blanket over it and opacity and a white blanket in opacity, then you matched it? That's tint, tone, shade. Okay, tint, tone, wait a minute. Tint, shade, match, that's what that is. Number 5, wait a minute. Hex numbers, tint, wait a minute. Tint, tone, shade is the 6x6 square. And you did the black and the white blanket over them, you matched them. Tone identification is the 8 colors. Are you guys confused? You looked at each other. Did I mess you up? We good? Okay, sorry about that. Number 6, hex numbers, tint, tone, shade. That's where you had 3 columns, 3 colors, and you tinted it, you shaded it, and you toned it. And you put the hex numbers on top of those swatches. You wrote out a propaganda proposal. I want that written proposal on there. Playing in the dark was a composition you did. Photo composite. Photo composite was when you took your portrait and you took it you placed it 4 different times in different keys. High contrast, low contrast, middle contrast, full contrast. Remember that? Portrait as propaganda. This is where you were working in Photoshop and you created 4 different compositions of propaganda posters. Do you remember that? Okay. Propaganda in color. That's where you took one of the propaganda posters and you converted it to a tint palette, a tone palette, a shade palette. You did a project composition on radiation. You did hue circles. Many of you need to redo your hue circles because they were done incorrectly. Opposites attract was a composition you did. Hue vocabulary, that's when I gave you a list of vocabulary color names and you were to define them in swatches. Hue as value was where you took all those swatches and you lined them up from light to dark. Flesh me, you just turned that in. Today you're going to be given 1 color as 2, and then on Monday you're going to be given 2 colors as 1. All right? The number 20 and 21, they're painted projects. They don't go in the portfolio. I must have the originals. Okay? So you're going to come with your black and black, your gray and gray, your inventory sheet, your excuses, your brush, and your thumb drive portfolio in its case, carrier, okay? In addition to that, so that's part 1. Part 2 is going to be a folder. And in that folder are going to be more folders. And each folder is going to be all of the contents for each project. So remember when you were doing research on propaganda and you did all the visual photo research? All of that research goes into that folder. If you did more than 1 gray on gray assignment, you did multiple assignments, all of the native files go into that folder. I cannot grade your work only on this. I must have access to the native files and all of the support material so that I could make sure that they were structured correctly, okay? If you only give me this, you're failing the class. If you give me a thumb drive with all of these folders not organized, you're failing the class, because I'm not gonna be a detective and start looking for stuff. I need two things that I can see when I open up that thumb drive: PDF portfolio and the native folders. Is that clear? Every folder should be titled by the number and the project. Every folder should be numbered and titled by the project. Sir?
About the PDF, is it one PDF with everything on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. That is very important. It is one PDF with everything on it.
So like a Word document PDF.
God forbid I should have 18 PDF files that I have to open up individually. I'm gonna be pissed.
So like a Word document PDF with everything? Or
No, Illustrator.
Okay.
Yes. Clear? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
For the folders, especially for the one for propaganda, I have all my pictures sorted out in a folder. Is that okay just to put that in there?
Wonderful. Organization is everything.
Okay.
I want you to be well packaged with this class materials that you have wrapped up, that I could actually evaluate what you've done and give you credit for everything you've done.
Okay.
Okay? Are we clear? Yes, sir.
So say we revise something, a project. The one we turned in goes before and the one we revise is after, right?
Yeah.
Which one is the one that we submit like before, like with the title and stuff? Like the one we've revised or the one we used?
Give me an example. Like, let's say gray on gray. Let's say you turned in gray on gray and I gave you a 30.
Mm-hmm.
And gray on gray, you're gonna put that horrible 30 presentation here, but you redid it 2 weeks ago and you're gonna put the new one here and you're gonna write before, after.